Good morning, Sir Minas. I am Arvin Arbalagosa. Our reporting is Lesson 3 Market Research Methodology. And next is Methodology. Scientific method is often a problem-solving guiding system that includes particular components such as terms, tasks, procedures, approach, and instruments may be used to define the analysis of a discipline for principles of procedures, norms, and pressures. Includes the following: research design, a true plan for conducting an inquiry, a research design will determine contain how data will be gathered by what instrument will be utilized, how the equipment will be used, and the anticipated ways of interpreting the data gathered. The next is a descriptive survey is employed for the survey. For plan, define the descriptive survey first, then connect it to your article. The next is sample size. The sample size is a critical aspect and imperative in which the objective is to draw a conclusion about a population from a sample. In reality, the sample size utilized in a study is decided by the cost of data collection as well as the necessity for statistical power. And this is the source. And if the population is big, the Sloven formula must be used to calculate is sampling design technique. Sampling design. Scientific probability. Each individual in the population has a present chance of being preset chance of being picked for the sample. This scientific probability sampling strategy is one in which every unit in the population has a chance higher than 0 of being, and this probability can compute precisely. Then next is non-scientific. Non-probability do not use random selection techniques and instead rely on the researcher. Non-scientific sampling is also known as non-probability sampling. Is any sampling process in which some members of the population have no chance of selection or where the probability of selection cannot be established properly. Then probability sampling technique. Probability sampling technique. A simple random sampling. Simple random approaches are the most basic type of probability sampling. All that remains for the researcher to do is ensure that all members of the population are included in the list and then randomly the required of participants. Every element is chosen independently of the others and the sample is picked at random from a sampling frame similar to a lottery method in which names are placed in a container, shaken, and the names of the winners are then picked in an unbiased way. Then next is systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is based on randomizing the target population into some sort of order and then pick items of the regular intervals from that order list. Systematic sampling begins with a random pick and then progresses to the selection of every hit element from their k equal population size sample size. In this sample, it is critical that the beginning point is not always the person that is, but instead picked at random from the first through the key element in the list. A simple example would be known as sampling with a skip of 10. Then there is the sample. The sample is chosen by selecting random beginning point and then sequentially selecting every hidden element from the sampling frame. I equal n over the I interval and equal population size. Example, I equal 100,000 or example, I equal to 100,000 or 1,000 equal 100. The sample, the random number between 1 and 100 is selected. Let's say it's 23. The sample consists of elements of 23. 123,223,323 and so on. Then next is stratified random sampling. Proportional random sampling is another name of stratified random sampling. This is a probability sampling approach in which participants are originally socioeconomic position or gender. A two-step approach is used to divide the population into subpopulation or strata, each component chosen at random each stratum. Then next is cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is a sampling approach in which the whole population is split into groups or clusters. The random sample from each these groups is chosen. The sample includes all other observations in the specific cluster. Cluster sampling is commonly employed and when the researcher cannot obtain a complete list of the members of a population, obtain comprehensive list of a group or cluster of the population. It's also employed when it would be far too expensive. This strategy is often employed frequently amid multi-stage grouping into a hierarchy of units or sampling is performed. The population is separated into a number of groups or primary stage of which samples are gathered, and these groups are secondary stage of subsequently divided into groups or secondary stages from which samples are pulled. Then next is non-probability. Non-probability sampling technique convenience attempts to collect a sample of convenient components in which the interviewer is largely responsible for the selection of sampling units. A statistical strategy of obtaining representative data by selecting person based on the age on the essay which is They voluntary are units based on their availability or areas of access. Then next is judgmental. Population components are purposefully choosing depending on the researcher judgment. Each approach is often referred to a purposeful sampling, innovative sampling, purposive sampling, self-guidance as authorities specialization can pick a more representative sample that can produce more accurate findings than other probability approach. The technique consists only of handpicking individuals from the community based on the authorities' researchers' expertise and judgment. Then next is quota of two-stage restrict judgment sampling. The first stage is establishing control categories or quotas for population segments. The products in the second phase are fit for their usefulness or discretion. The next is a method of obtaining representative random sampling. Quota sampling requires the selection of representatives, individuals from a predetermined 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 group. A researcher, for example, would seek a sample of 100 females or 100 adults with the age of 20 and 30. Then next is B. The first group of respondents is picked at random and subsequent respondents are chosen based on referrals or information provided by the person of respondents. Aims by receiving endorsements from collections. This sampling method should be utilized. The sample for the researchers exceeding usual or limited into very small population. The sampling technique works in the same way of achieving referrals. And next is participants are purposely selected a sample to serve as limits for the researcher purpose. Subject is chosen part of the sample because there is a key is typical of the entire population. Because consumer choosing a sample based on this researcher and aims as its critical criteria, and the individual is choosing the sample member because there is good evidence that he is a representative of the entire population. Subject target population. The intervention population is the entire group of persons whom it will conduct research and develop findings and cost effectiveness analysis. The characteristics of the target population and N subgroups should be correctly reported. Then next is the collection of components or things that hold derive. The researcher must explain how and where volunteers will be gathered.
The research methodology on the researcher's data collection instrument, which might be a questionnaire, a test interview, an assessment center, and checklist or a scoring system must be provided. As a research instrument is a device used to collect, measures, and analyze data related to your research interest. In the health sciences, social sciences, and education, these methodologies are most commonly used to assess patients, consumers, students, instructors, and staff. Research instruments include interviews, tests, questionnaire, and checklists. A good research instrument should have the following characteristic: trustworthy and valid. Number two, on the basis of a theoretical model or the researcher's understanding of how the study unique variables interact with one another, data and information that is appropriate for and relevant to the research subject must be acquired. Number three. Next, able to evaluate assumptions and or respond to research question. Next, free of prejudice and appropriate for the environment, culture, and diversity of the research site. Gives gives clear and transparent guidelines on how to use the instrument. Interviews are one type of research instrument. A. Interviews or encounters in which the interviewers ask verbal questions to elicit verbal responses from the interview. B. Structured interview. A standard a standardized series of questions provided to each participants and transcribed according to a controlled process. Letter C. Unstructured interview. A much less conventional set of questions in which the research alters the order and phrasing. Letter D. Non-directive interview. An unsupervised interview that incorporates open-ended question and the use of impromptu involvement. Letter E. Focus interview. A type of inquiry in which the researchers focuses on the interviewers. Completely subjective responses to elicit further material. Letter F. Focus group interview. A sample of participants is interviewed about their opinions or feelings on a certain problem. Types research instrument observation. Letter A. Observation is a non-experimental, confirmatory factor method which researchers examine ongoing activities. Letter B. Structured observations. Study undertaken at a certain location and time in which individuals are observed in a systematic fashion, rather than provide a comprehensive description of all observed actions. Researchers categorize them using a prearranged scale. Letter C. Naturalistic observation. The investigation of people's spontaneous behavior in natural surroundings. The researchers just notes what they see in any way they see it. Letter D. Participant observation. A variation on natural assessment in which the observer takes part. The targeted audience of a survey is the entire collection of units for whom survey. Data will be used to make inferences. As a result, the units to which the survey's findings are meant to generalize are determined by the target population. The definition of target group is critical since it determines whether or not sample cases are eligible or ineligible for the survey. the target populations, geographic and temporal dimensions, as well as the types of units included must be established. All draft remarks, edits, and adjustment must be correctly described. Several persons who involved in revising and enhancing the research methodology must be mentioned. Next, usability refers to the ease with which an instrument can be administered, understood by the participant, and scored interpreted by the researcher. Usability difficulties include the following: youngster are requested to create self-checklists of their after-school activities, but the instructions are unclear and the item descriptions are incomprehensible. Problem with interpretation. Next, in educators. Educators are followed on their thoughts on school policy. However, some questions are poorly structured, resulting in low completion rates, scoring interpretation difficulties. Validation of the instruments. The proportion to which equipment measures what is supposed to measure and function as intended is reference to as validity, because it is rare, if not impossible, for an instrument to be totally valid. Validity is generally expressed in degrees. Validations is the process of acquiring and analyzing data to assess the accuracy of an instrument. External validity refers to the extent to which a study conclusion may be extend from sample to a population, thus that establishing of an instrument. Eternal validity follows directly from sampling, while the complete population may not be available. A sample should be an accurate representation of that group. Material validity refers to the suitability of an instrument's content. To put it another way, do the measures, questions, observations, logs, etc. accurately assess the information you seek? This is especially important when it comes to achievement tests. Consider as tests developer who wants to increase the validity of a 7th grade arithmetic unit test.
Data processing method. After receiving the questionnaire, the researcher manually or automatically tabulates and processes the data, which should be described in the paper. During data collection, the process of converting raw data into meaningful statements include data processing, data analysis, data interpretation, and data presentation. Forms of control might be manual or automated. Editing, categorizing, open-ended questions, coding, computerization, and table and diagram. Diagram creation are all part of the job. Data processing includes editing, coding, classifying, tabulating, graphing, and diagramming research data. The essence of data processing in research data: minimization, separating the irrelevant from the crucial data, creating order from chaos, and providing structure to a big volume of data are all examples of data reduction. Data processing in research consists of 5 important steps. 1. Modification of data. 2. Encoding of data. 3. Data categorization. 4. Tabulation of data. 5. Charts and graphs of data. Data processing. A series of activities or procedures performed on data validate, organize, convert, integrate, and extract data into an appropriate output form for subsequent use. Processing and procedures must be clearly documented to ensure the utility and integrity of the data. Data processing is divided into 6 stages. 1. Data collecting procedures. Data collection is the first stage in the data processing. 2. Data preparation. Following the acquisition of data, the step of data preparation begins. Data preparation, often known as pre-processing, is the act of cleaning and structuring raw data in preparation for the next stage of data processing. 3. The clean data is then sent into destination and translated into a language that the destination understands. 4. The data entered into the computer in the previous stage is processed for interpretation during this stage. 5. Data output. Interpretation is the point at which data is finally usable by individuals who aren't data scientists. It is easily translated and understandable, and it is typically given in the form of graphs, videos, photographs, plain text, and so on. 6. Data storage and reporting writing. Information system statistically. Data collection refers to the use of a statistical approach to a data set in order to turn it from a collection of meaningless numbers into usable output. The statistical treatment of data entails the application of statistical procedures such as mean, mode, median, regression, conditional probability, sampling, standard deviation, and distribution range. Statistical analysis not only allows us to identify trends, but it also allows us to organize and manage our data in the first place. The analytical methodologies and tools used to answer the research question of the study, as well as the formula, must be presented. Statistical tools. For doing basic statistical analysis on experimental data, a variety of tools are available. 7 ways to make study results shine. 1. SPSS by IBM. In human behavior research, SPSS is likely the most extensively used statistics software program. The graphical user interface of SPSS allows you to easily procedure descriptive statistics, parametric and non-parametric analysis, and graphical result visualization. 2. R is a capital letter R, Foundation for Statistical Computing. This is publicly downloadable statistical software application that is widely used in human behavior research and other fields. 3. MATLAB, the math word. Among engineers and scientists, MATLAB is a prominent analytical platform and programming language. As with R, the learning curve is steep, and you will be required to develop your own code at some point. 4. Microsoft Excel. While MS Excel is not a cutting-edge statistical analysis tool, it does offer a wide variety of features for data visualization and basic statistics. It's simple to generate a summary metric and adjust visualization and figures, making it a valuable tool for many people who only want to look at the most important aspects of the data. 5. SAS, Statistical Analysis Software, is a statistical analysis platform that allows users to conduct more complicated investigations by using graphical user interface or by writing script. HIC, GraphPad Prism. Prism by GraphPad is premium software that is often used in biological statistics, but it also has a wide variety of characteristics that may be applied in other disciplines. 7. Minitab. Minitab is a data analysis program that includes a variety of basic and intermediate statistical methods. The level of confidence must be stated in order to determine the significance of the findings. Predictive value relates to the notion that a result gained by a testing or study is unlikely to occur randomly or by accident, but is more likely to be connected to a specific cause. There are two types of statistical significance, strong and weak. When analyzing a data set and running the appropriate test to evaluate if one or more factors have an impact to an outcome, statistical significance helps to support the concept that the results are and not result of the chance or luck. Statistical significance tests become difficult, hence academics often work with samples of bigger population rather than populations themselves. As a result, the samples must be representative of the general population, and the data in the sample must be free of bias. The calculation of statistical significance testing is not error-free. Every test that does not cover the entire population requires the researcher to anticipate the possibility of a sampling error.
Lesson 4. Market Research, Development, and its Executive Summary. Executive Summary is a one-page overview of the plan that incorporates the information summary statement at the start of the business plan. Executive Summary, also known as a statement purpose, should concisely express your objective for creating the business plan. An executive summary must make a good impression that introduce about the business that address clearly. Executive summary should be addressed clearly and simply indicate, be concise and business-like. It should include key points, your business, its product, the industry it serves, and its competitive advantage. Executive summary should be addressed clearly and simply indicate legal form of your company, whether it is a sole proprietorship, partnership, or a corporation. Anything remarkable, it qualifies as major accomplishment. Funding, if looking for funding, make sure to include the amount and kind of credit, the payment schedule, and the process. Current market value, expected worth, or price of any equipment that you own. The executive summary must include the definition, the sector to which the company, the brand, product line corresponds, This is defined as a classification that refers to a group of organizations that are linked by their primary business activity in today's economy. There are hundreds of different industrial categories which are sometimes grouped into larger divisions that is called sectors. This sector consists of market size, the number of individuals in a certain market segment who are potential buyers. It refers to the maximum total number of sales or customers your business can see. While the second one is the market competitive shares. The market share of a corporation is the percentage of total revenues generated in an industry that it produces. Market share is calculated by dividing the company's sales for the period by the total sales of the industry for the same period. It is a percentage of the total revenues or sales in a market that the company's business makes up.
What is marketing objective? Marketing objectives are the brand's defined goals. They outline the intention of marketing team, provide clear direction for the team members to follow, and offer information for executive to review and support. Marketing objectives are the integral part of any marketing strategy. A brand will struggle to achieve its plan if its goals are not defined because it will be unsure of what it wants to do. The formula at unit sales is equal total sales in value over total sales in quantity. We are all in business to solve the problems and add value and make a profit, tasks which involve pricing your product or service. The break-even number of units can be understood in a slightly different way by looking and determining the break-even point. The above formula gives a company the number of the units of the goods and services it must be sell in order to return enough revenue to cover all of the costs associated with manufacturing, advertising, transporting, and selling the product and services it offers to customers. What is a sales forecast? A sales forecast is an expression of expected sales revenue. A sales forecast estimates how much your company plans to sell within a certain time period like quarter or year. The best sales forecast do this with the high degree accuracy. Who sales team make their forecast based on who their prospects are. What forecast should be based on exactly what solution you plan to sell. Where is the buying decision made and where will be the actual product be used? Why is the prospect or potential customer interested in your company's new services in the first place? How does this prospect trend to make a purchasing decision? Why is sales forecast important? To understand why sales forecasting is so important to business health and so on. What is gross profit? Gross profit is the profit a company makes after deducting the cost associated with making and selling its product or the customer associated with providing its service. Gross profit will appear on company income statement and can be calculated by subtracting the cost of goods and sold from the revenue.
Good day everyone, I am Life Angela Abitan from VSCE 3D. Critical success factors versus key performance indicators. The term critical success factors is often used interchangeably with the term key performance indicator, but they are actually very different. Critical success factors are derived from your organization missions and objectives. They set out what you need to do be successful and tend to be universal across organizations. For example, they might include things like increasing profit, improving employee engagement, improving talent acquisitions and retention, becoming more environmental friendly. The four main types of critical success factors. Rockart identified four main types of CSFS that business need to consider. Number 1. Industry factors. Result from the specific characteristic of your industry. These are the things that you must do to remain competitive within your market. For example, a tech startup might identify innovation as a CSF. Number 2, environmental factors. Result from macro-environmental influences on your organization. For example, the business climate, the economy, your competitors, and technological advancement. A PAST analysis can help you to understand your environmental factors better. Strategic factors. Result from your organization's specific competitive strategy. They might include the way your organization chooses to position and market itself. For example, whether it's a high volume, low cost procedure, or a low volume, high cost one. Number 4, temporal factors. Result from your organization's internal changes and in development and are usually short-lived. Specific barriers, challenge, and influences will determine this CSFS. For example, a rapidly expanding business might have a CSF or increasing its international sales. The important element in internal analysis of a firm is evaluating its financial health. A thorough analysis of financial statement can provide much information about an organization and will identify symptoms and basic problems occurring with an organization.
Hi everyone, my name is Janine Balasabas. So for today's, my report is all about the key elements of an effective internal analysis and critical success factors. So this report is focused on internal analysis and the critical success factors. So when we say internal analysis, this is through the examination of a company's internal competence, both tangible and intangible, such as resources, assets, and processes. So when we say internal analysis, in short, it focuses on the practical business strategy or the business plan. Next is about the critical success factor. So when we say critical success factor, this is a capability or activities or condition that is required for a mission to be successful. So in short, when we say critical success factor, it's focused on the objectives. 5 key success factors. So when we say the 5 key success factors, these are focused on strategic focus. The second one is people. Third one is the operation. Marketing and finances is the last. The first one is the strategic focus. When we say strategic focus, it's focused on the leadership, the management, and the planning. Second one is people. When we say people, it focuses on the personnel, the staff, the learning, and the development. The third one is the operations. When we say operations, it focuses on the processes or the works of the people. The fourth one is the marketing. When we say marketing, it focuses on the consumer, sales, and responsiveness. The last one is the finances. So when we say finances, it's focused on the assets, facilities, and the equipment.